anyone ever puts anything in Google Drive, please let me know because I don't get notifications when the folders are updated. So yeah, just let me know through the chat or email my canvas. We're not going to review tonight because I reviewed Tuesday night. And there's a lot I want to cover that's brand new, but fun and easy. Tonight, as you can guess from the window, we're going to be doing expressions. Now, so far, I've been teaching you keyframe animation. And expressions are a completely new tool that you'll have as an animator that are incredibly useful. So once I teach you how to make them, you will be like, this is going to save me so much time on my assignment. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to delete this. And I want everyone to just draw a square on their computer, please. And just put the anchor point in the middle. And remember, the fast way of getting the anchor point in the middle is to, with the layer selected, hold down Command or Control and double click on your pan behind tool. Now, what I'm going to want you to be doing is go Window, Wiggler. And Kelly, you can just watch this part while the machine is loading up After Effects in the background, because once we get into expressions, that's the important part. This is just a visual explainer of expressions. So everyone went Window, Wiggler, and the Wiggler panel will appear right down here in your computer. Okay, saw the chat. Okay, so here's what I want you to see. Nothing is going to happen in the Wiggler until we add some keyframes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my object over here, hit P for position, click on the stopwatch because I've already got the playhead where I want it, move forward in time, and then just move this straight across the screen. Now I'm going to shorten my render bar so that we can just watch the looped animation by hitting the space bar. And that's it. It's just nice and boring. That's happening, okay? So, we all know that workflow. Think about what you want to do. Figure out how to do it. Move the anchor point based upon the animation you want, because that will influence your motion. Set your playhead to where you want the motion to start. Click on the stopwatch or stopwatches you want. Move forward in time and then make your change. Okay, so you got that. Now, I want you to select the keyframes, and there's two ways you can do it. You can box select in the timeline, or click on the word position, and that will select all the keyframes in the position stopwatch. Now you'll notice that the Wiggler panel over here is active. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do frequency 5. I'll keep all these settings. And under magnitude, I'm going to put 50 and then hit apply. So I'm using 5 and 50. I then hit apply. And look at what happened to my motion path. I'm going to hit the spacebar to preview it. I now have a jittery animation that was created by the computer for me. This would have taken a lot of time to do. And all you need to know is the frequency, 5 times a second. Its magnitude is moving an amount of 50 randomly up, down, left, and right. So this is an example of an expression. We didn't write an expression. We're going to be doing that next. I just want you to realize it's the number of times per second and the amount of what's happening. And the computer did the rest for us, okay? So that is a little precursor to expressions. I'm going to drag out my render area. So you saw how you can get extra motion easily using the Wiggler. Well, now I'm going to teach you the first expression everybody learns, the wiggle expression. It basically does the same thing as the Wiggler, but you're going to have far more control over it. Expressions can be used to create a randomness, a more organic motion, and they can add complexity quickly to your animation. And they'll also help you reduce the amount of keyframes you need to do to create this interesting motion. So we're going to get deliberate with this. I'm going to show you some more useful reasons why expressions are great. So I'm just going to make a square, and I'm going to put the anchor point in the middle by holding down Command or Control and double-clicking on my Pan Behind tool. Okay, so the easiest way to learn the wiggle expression is through position. So I'm going to hit P for position. Oh, good. Kelly, you're up and running? All right, excellent. So I'm going to check the chat real quick. Okay, good. Now, this is crucial. So everybody listen to every step of this, and then we'll do it together. To make an expression, you can add an expression into anything in After Effects that has a stopwatch, just like you can keyframe animate anything with the stopwatch. And this includes effects. Like if I chose blur, you don't need to do this, I'm just showing you. And I pick Gaussian blur and I throw it on here. There's stopwatches in here, so I can keyframe animate those stopwatches, or I can throw an expression in there. So I'm going to put an expression in the position stopwatch. So everybody just watched the first time. I'll explain it step by step, and then we'll do it together. To add an expression to any stopwatch in After Effects, all you need to do is hold down the Alt or Option key while you click on that stopwatch. So you have to hold down Alt or Option as you're clicking, and you'll see that stopwatch's parameters turned red. So I know that there is an expression on it. This expression field pops up over here. The little blue plus, equal sign, that's to turn off or on the expression. And the pick whip, which we'll be covering a lot tonight, the pick whip can be used to help make a really interesting advanced expression. It might sound daunting, but by the end of the night, it'll all make sense. So it all starts off with holding down Alt or Option and clicking your stopwatch, and then you enter your expression into the text field. So I'm going to do a wiggle expression. I type in WI, and right there it starts to autocomplete. So I double click on the text I want auto-completed. I don't have to type the full expression. The cursor's blinking in between the parentheses, and we're going to do the same exact thing we did before. 5, 50. So it's going to wiggle the position randomly, left, right, up, down, 5 times per second, an amount of 50, just like the wiggler was doing. Now, this is crucial. The expression's done, but do not hit the Enter key. What you do, this dark gray box right here, is the expression field. You click out of it either above or below. See how it changes to an arrow for selection? I'm clicking out of it. That's the whole workflow. Now I can hit the space bar to preview it, and I've got my wiggle working. You've got to have perfect spelling of your expression, no extra spaces. The line breaks must match exactly. You'll see that when we get to the more complex ones. And then the last step is to click out of the expression, because if you hit Enter, you'll create an unwanted line break. And if you hit the space bar to preview, you'll create an unwanted space. That's why I had to click out of it. So we're all going to do it together. And here's a fun little tip. To turn off an expression, all you have to do to get rid of it is to Alt or Option click on the stopwatch a second time. So just like when you create keyframes and you click on the stopwatch a second time, it deletes your keyframes. Alt or Option clicking on a stopwatch a second time will remove your expression. So the first step, everyone has their square with the anchor point in the middle. You've got your position open up on your layer. You're going to hold down Alt or Option, and you're going to click on the position stopwatch. And you should have your expression field open up at the bottom of your timeline. Did everybody get that? And I see, Kelly, yours is working. You've got your expression here. Great. What we're going to do is start typing in wiggle. It'll autocomplete. Double click on wiggle with the parentheses. And you'll get your blinking cursor in between the parentheses. All you need to do is just type 5, 50. And then remember, don't hit the space bar, don't hit enter. Move your mouse out of that expression field, either above or below, turns into a selection arrow, and you can click outside of your selection. Then, and only then, can you hit the space bar to preview it. And that's your very first expression. And what I want you to know is I'm going to copy and paste this expression. I'm just going to select in the text field, hit Command-C, and then click out of it. Okay, great. So I'm going to hit the space bar and stop. Now I'm going to hit S for scale, hold down Alt or Option, click on the stopwatch, and I'm just going to paste the same exact expression there. Click out of the field, and now watch what's going to happen. This expression can be used for whatever stopwatch you put it in. It's saying randomly move about a number of times per second times, well, with an amount. So for the position, it was changing the position. For the scale, it's changing the scale. If I put rotation, I hold down Alt or Option, and then I paste it in there. Now we're going to randomly rotate, scale, and position. It's the same expression, but it changes based upon the stopwatch you put it in. That's the important thing to take away from this, okay? I'm going to throw a glow on this. Okay, now you can start seeing the glow on here. So I'm going to put it on the intensity. So I'm going to Alt or Option click on intensity, paste the exact same expression, and now the glow intensity of the wiggle, of the glow is doing the wiggle expression. Same expression, it just changes what it does based upon the stopwatch you put in. So if I put it in the radius, I'm going to paste it there, and instead of 50, I'm going to do 500 and click out of it. Now I'm getting a wider radius for that glow, and it's not only flashing with the intensity, but it's also changing the radius of the glow as I do it. Same expression, it just changes what it does based upon the stopwatch you put it in. Does everybody get that concept? Oh, so in the effects panel, I just typed in glow, and I drag the effect onto the shape layer. I'm going to delete this square, and I'm going to make another square. And I'm going to put the anchor point in the center by holding down Command or Control, double-clicking on the anchor point, the pan behind tool, and I'm going to go back to my selection arrow. Now, you know how to make an expression now, one of the simplest ones. I'm going to show you what happens when we add a keyframe into it and then put the expression. So I'm going to go here, then there, and move across the screen. And here's my motion. Same thing. That's all that's happening. So I click the stopwatch and I put in my keyframes. Now I'm going to hold down Alt or Option and paste that expression in there. And watch what happens. It's moving side to side, but it's also wiggling. And then also notice the expression will keep randomly doing it for the duration of the layer length in the timeline. So if I start moving this down like that, and then start moving it up, and then let's just move it diagonally. It'll add the wiggle, keep the motion path, and once I'm done my last keyframe, the wiggle will keep going until the end of that layer in the timeline. Expressions are a very useful way to add life to your animations. Everybody see some of the use for it? You can use expressions to fake a camera shake from an explosion. It's done all the time. So now that I gave you that brief intro to expressions, and you see the difference between just putting an expression on and then keyframing and putting the expression on, and you know to click outside of the expression field before you hit the spacebar to preview it. Now, here's something I want to demonstrate. You saw wiggle in position, scale, rotation. You get an idea. Now, I just want everyone to watch this. You don't need to follow along. I'm not even going to move the anchor point. So I've got two squares that line up perfectly. I hit Command D to duplicate them. One's blue, one's red. I can click the eyeball icon to show you that. Blue and red. Now, if I put that wiggle expression on the top one, only the top one, so I Alt or Option click, paste it in there. Wait, let's change that. Let's change it to 500. Let's see what that does. Oh, I didn't have the eyeball icon. There we go. I start getting a flashing change of color. So I can mess around with that color until it looks right and then make it look like an emergency vehicle light just by changing the opacity of one layer to reveal the one below that. See, like that. And I could throw a glow on top of that. I'd probably throw a glow on both of them if I wanted to, but showing you the difference. So again, using expressions, you save yourself a lot of keyframing. You could do it to show layers strobing off and on, or just other ways of adding some complexity to your motion. And I'm going to be diving into that as we learn more and more about expressions tonight. I'm glad you're all absorbing this so readily. Two very useful expressions are coming up next. So here's what we're going to do. I want everybody to do this. Make a small square by the left side of your screen. And just put the anchor point in the middle for now. Next, go grab my selection arrow. Hit Command or Control D to duplicate it and drag it below it, and we'll change the color. One will be blue, one will be red. So you just got them spread apart on the screen. Two different colors. To change the color, I just selected the duplicate, not the word fill, but the thumbnail next to it. You can click there and change it to whatever color you want and hit the OK button. So it's right up at the top. You got to have your selection arrow on too. So I got my two squares. They're two different colors and they're spread out so I can see what's going on. I'm going to hold down Shift to select both of them in my timeline. They're both selected. I can tell that because they're both highlighted. All right, you good? All right. I'm going to hit the P key with both of them selected. My playhead's already at the beginning of the timeline, and I'm going to click the stopwatch on one of them, and that's going to add a keyframe to both layers at the same time to save some time. You got it, Kelly? Excellent. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump ahead a couple seconds. Let's do 3 seconds. I'm just going to slide these horizontally, holding down Shift to the other side of the screen. Nothing drastic. They're just moving straight across. Make sure you got the selection arrow. Yeah, so if you have both of them selected, they'll both move the same distance. And if you hold down Shift, it'll snap straight across. Okay. All right, great. So they're moving straight across the screen. Now, we're going to add two different expressions. The top shape. Well, let me put this so it's at the bottom. The top shape, I'm going to hit Enter to name it. I'm going to call it Loop Out. The bottom shape, I'm going to hit Enter to name it. I'm going to call it Loop Out space Ping Pong. So I've got two different names, and we'll be able to tell what's happening just by looking at the name. The top one is Loop Out. The bottom one is Loop Out Ping Pong. The top layer only. Make sure only the top layer is selected. Hold down Alt or Option and click on your position stopwatch. Remember, you got to be holding down Alt or Option and start typing Loop Out. And you'll see it autofills, Loop Out. So I'm going to double click on that expression. And all I have to do at this point, remember, here's my text cursor. Getting outside of the expression turns into an arrow. You want to be on the arrow and click out of that expression. You don't even need to enter anything into the Loop Out expression. Now, before you hit the space bar, select the bottom layer, hold down Alt or Option and click on that stopwatch and start typing loop out again, and double click on the expression to auto-complete it. Now, I'm keeping the cursor in between the parentheses to add to it. I'm going to start typing in ping pong. Why isn't that expression working for me tonight? Oh, you know what? I'm going to try one last thing. It's always about troubleshooting. I've told you that before. Don't get discouraged. There's my parentheses. I'm going to put quotation marks. Quotation mark, that's it. I had to have quotation marks. So I double click and it fills it. And then I just wait until my mouse turns into an arrow and I can click out of it. Now it's going to work. Sorry about that. Needed quotes around it. Now I'll show you what happens. The blue one on top is loop out. It goes to the edge of the screen, stops, and does a hard return back to the beginning of the animation. The bottom loop out ping pong goes to the edge of the screen, then reverses the keyframe order. And I'm going to check. Okay, great, Kelly, you got it. If everyone got it, hit Y for yes. While I'm waiting to hear from everybody, you go, okay, why would I use either of these? The top one, the blue one, loop out. Pretend you had a bunch of stuff going down a conveyor belt, like briefcases going through the TSA, or chocolate bars being assembled at the Hershey factory. That's when you would use loop out and only loop out. The bottom one, loop out ping pong, great. Good job, Sarah. Good job, Shane. The bottom one, loop out ping pong, is useful for so many things. Pretend you got a bird flapping. Just perfectly move the wings up, then set the keyframe for the wings down, and it'll keep going back and forth between the two of them to look like the bird's flying. Everybody got it? Expressions can save you so much time, and I'm showing you the most useful and helpful ones. That's loop out and loop out ping pong. And I'm going to demonstrate that later on with the bird, and I'm also going to show you a couple other cool things about expressions. Now we're going to start with expressions from the web, okay? And this is another reason why I didn't do a refresher at the beginning of the course tonight, because some of these expressions I'm going to show you cover the 12 principles of animation, some of them that we've covered. So I want everybody to draw a square on your screen again, and this time I want the anchor point at the bottom middle. Hold down Command or Control to snap it to the bottom middle, and then you'll be good. For mine, I had to add quotes into ping pong. I'll do it for you one more time real quick. I've got my two different layers. And, okay, so you got it working then? Okay. What I had everybody do, okay, ping pong was okay. So if you select both of them at the same time when you hit the P key and then click the stopwatch, it creates keyframes for both of them because they're both selected. That's why I'm just going to go to 3, move it straight across, hold down the Shift button. So now they should both be moving. So what you want to do is make sure you hold down Alt or Option when you click that stopwatch, because maybe you accidentally didn't hold down Alt or Option. So if I go to finish out my expression, loop out, and I click out of the expression field, loop out should now be working. Now mine stopped doing it. Now mine's not working at the moment, which is weird because it just was. All right, it might just be a glitch in Adobe tonight. That's why I'd chalk it up to. Adobe is very glitchy. It's a shame. All right, so make sure you got your square and put your anchor point at the bottom middle by holding down Command to snap it there. Put it back on your selection arrow. Inertial bounce and AE script should automatically autocomplete. And you're going to want to go to the first website, Gray Machine. Gray Machine is the website. I'm having security issues on campus with my laptop. Those of you who can access that website for the inertial bounce script, you can get it there. I have this stuff as a text document on my desktop. I always keep this stuff just so I can keep working even when I don't have an internet connection. It's a good habit to get into. I keep all my stuff in a text document so I can access it anytime I want. Inertial bounce. When you do get to the website page for inertial bounce, there's going to be a description about the expression. And it's going to say basically the values you'll adjust are amplitude, frequency, and decay, okay? And you could experiment with that on your own, but I'm going to show you a little bit about what each one does. And as I said before, line breaks are crucial. You've got to keep your line breaks, and you can't have any typos or any extra spaces. So I'm going to grab the expression all the way down to this little symbol, the parenthesis or whatever. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put this into scale. I'm going to hold down Alt, click on the stopwatch, paste into my expression field, and click out of it. Now let's see what happens. All right, let me add some keyframes, see if that helps. Now with keyframes, it's working. So we've got an idea of what's going to be happening. I'm going to change my amplitude from 0.05 to 2. And then I'm going to click out the expression and see what that does. It should make the overshoot a lot more. You know what? Let's move these closer together so we can see more easily what's going to happen. There you go. See, now it's starting to shake like a Jell-O mold. The amplitude is how much it's overshooting back and forth. Now, the frequency, I'm going to change that 4 to an 8 and click out of the expression field. There's my arrow. I can click out. So now it's going to more frequently do that shake so you can see it more pronounced. You could just keep changing these numbers to get the look that you want. The decay, I'm going to change it from 2 to 1. Click out of the expression and then see what that does. It's far more drastic with the overshooting because it's decaying less in between them. So I'm going to, instead of going smaller, I'm going to go bigger. I'm going to change it to 4, and that should make it a little bit more subtle. And we'll check it out. I clicked out of the expression, hit the space bar. See, now it's a bit more subtle. So it's playing around with the values that you have in your expression for amplitude, frequency, and decay. First, make it twice as big, just one of them. Then preview it, see what it does. If that was too much, make it a smaller number. So you either go up or down to change what that's going to do. That is inertial bounce, which is basically overshoot, but without having to do the keyframes. So I will demonstrate that with a square. And I'm going to put my anchor point at the corner. I'm going to hit R for rotate. Now remember, you need keyframes for this to work. So I'm going to start off on this side. Click my stopwatch. Go forward a little bit. I'm going to set this to there. And then I'm going to want it to end at 45 degrees. So it's just swinging from one side to the far side and then ending right there. So now if I hit Alt or Option, I paste in the inertial bounce script. Let's take a look at it. There's my overshoot and the rotation. So remember, set up your animation the way you want, and this will do the rest of the work for you. All right, so what I'm going to do is when you're grabbing expressions from the internet, my first line is n equals 0. I completely ignored the part that says modify amp, frequency, and decay. It starts right down at n equals 0. So everything above that you can delete. Yeah, see, I couldn't access the Gray Machine website from the campus, but you're going to want n equals 0 all the way down with v equals velocity, amplitude, frequency. So that's why, so make sure you go all the way up to n equals 0. like I was saying, your line breaks have to be perfect like this. Sometimes when you copy and paste, the line breaks don't work. Like what happened with Kelly is her break here, and I think there did not work. So sometimes it just overwrites and doesn't keep the return. So all you have to do in that instance is just keep looking at the web page to see where the breaks are. All right, so you know how to put in the expression, Kelly. It's just the breaks didn't go through okay. Okay, this is the last thing we're covering tonight. We're going back to wiggle, the easy one. It's the last thing we're doing tonight. And I'm going to show you two very useful ways that wiggle will really make your animation pop. I'm going to draw an oval, okay? And I'm going to make it red. And then I'm going to grab my anchor point. I had to click off the layer to get it. And go back on there. I'm going to put my anchor point at the bottom. And I'm going to call this balloon. Now, watch first and then do, okay? So what I'm going to do is, let me go. If I do not have this layer selected, and I'll just grab a rectangle. Without the layer selected, I create another layer. Most of the time, you will want another layer, okay? If I have it selected and I draw my square, I'll add a square into that shape layer. And that's not what I want this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and just make a little line for my string. We'll give it no fill. And I'll give it a stroke. And I'll make it white. And I'll just make it a little bit thinner. But not too thin. Just so you can see it. And the anchor point for that, I'm going to put at the top. And I'm going to call this string. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my balloon layer above my string layer, okay? So that way I don't have to worry that the string is overlapping it a little bit. You're not going to see it because the balloon's on top. So what we learned with parenting, you can use your pick whip or the drop-down menu in your modes. These are my modes. Here's your switches and modes. You click there. These are your switches. Click back. So I'm going to pick whip from the string to the balloon. So now they're parented, which means wherever I move the balloon, the string goes with it, okay? So watch this. All right, everybody ready? They're already parented. I'll give myself a little bit more room by dragging this down. So I'm going to go back to here, set my render bars. Let me fix that. All right, we'll start at the beginning. I'm going to click position. And I'm going to start off the screen. Then I'll go, let's say, 4 seconds. Nice, slow, lazy. And I'm going to change the Y so it moves straight up. Or I could just, come on, drag and hold down Shift. So my balloon is just going to rise straight up the screen like that. That's a little fast, so I'm just going to drag this keyframe a little further down. Okay, let's do a little bit more. So we already know that basic animation. Now, this will not get me any work. I will not get any clients with this level of animation, okay? It's all about thinking of ways to push yourself as a motion designer. Now, you know wiggle will add random wiggleness to it, okay? But I am not doing just a wiggle expression because it's not going to go up and down. It's going to just go side to side. So, all you have to do in that instance, you get the word position, right-click, and choose Separate Dimensions. Now I've got an X and I've got a Y. I'm going to delete my X keyframes because I'm only wanting the balloon to go straight up and down. If both your X and Y are still selected together and you click off the stopwatch, it'll kill both of them. That's why you got to make sure only X is selected when you're doing it. We only have keyframes on the Y going up. All I have to do now is Alt or Option click on the X position and add in my wiggle. Wiggle, double click to fill it, auto fit. Let's say it's a slow, windy day. So we'll do once a second, comma, 45, and then click out of the expression. Now let's take a look. Now we've got a little bit of random breeze happening. If you want more, just change the 45, the amount. I'll change it to 95. Make sure you click out. Now you can preview it. That's a little bit better. I could even change that 1 to a 2. Let's see how that looks. Click out of it, preview it. Now it looks like a little bit more windy of a day, okay? So, mission accomplished. We've got an expression just on one axis with our motion. I'm going to show you a little trick. For the string layer, I'm going to type in the effects field, turbulent displace. Let's try a little turbulent displace on that string. And what that's going to do is it's going to add some wiggle to it, like the breeze is copying it. I'm going to see if I can pin it and get it to stay in one spot. I'm going to pin. Let's try pin vertical. Looks like pin vertical helped. Let's try that. That's a bit better. And you could change the amount of the wiggling, the turbulent displace with your mount and the size. I can make the size a little bit bigger, add more to the amount, and you'll see that this pinning did not help at all. So I could try and just move that layer up a little bit more. Let's see if that helps. It'll still stay pinned. So now it looks like it's moving around a bit more, blowing in a Z space as well, getting smaller. And if that's too much, just change the size. And it'll do less. So that's all there is to it. 2 keyframes, up and down. We threw an effect on one layer and a wiggle just on the X of that balloon. And we've already got something pretty interesting with very little work. Well, good job, Kelly. See what I mean? Wasn't that easy? Now, I'm going to drive it home one more time. That's an example of position with the split dimension. So I'm just going to quickly draw a boat. And we're going to pretend the boat is bobbing in the ocean. So P for position. I'm going to have it start off my screen. Move my playhead to the beginning. Click my stopwatch. 5 seconds to get across the screen, why not? And then I'm just going to drag straight across. And there's the boat. Moving a little fast, so I'll just make it a little slower here. And there you go. Now for my boat, I'm going to click on my stopwatch, not the stopwatch, the word position. Right click, choose separate dimensions. I'm going to click off both of them. I'm going to get rid of the Y on this because it's only moving side to side. And I can paste that wiggle expression, or just, Alt or Option click on the Y, type in wiggle, let it double click to autocomplete it. I'll say twice a second, comma, 45. Get my arrow by clicking out of the expression field, and let's test that out. Now you've got a little bit of bob up and down as the boat goes across the ocean. So you can have something move straight up and down with a little bit of up and down to it, or have something move up and down with a little bit of side to side to it. Same expression, it's just where you paste it or type it into what stopwatch. Make sense, Kelly? All right. See, expressions can save you a lot of time. Last one, and then we're going to stop. We'll get rid of the fill. And I'm going to draw the world famous letter M. Like such. And I'm going to adjust my curve handles. All right. So I've got my letter M for my bird. I'm going to twirl down until I find the path keyframe. Because remember, there's the path. I'm going to click the stopwatch. This is my down. I'm going to go forward a second. Now I'm going to make it look like I'm flapping up. So if I hold down Shift, that'll deselect one of the points. So now I can move this up like it's flapping. You can also move the path points as well as the Bezier curve handle. And then this one, I'm going to move up to match. And I've really got to fix that Bezier curve handle. Let me zoom out a little bit. I probably should have had more path points, but we'll see what happens. It's all part of the learning curve. Now let's have this one go like that a little bit. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to do loop out ping pong. I'm going to Alt or Option click. So I got to hold down Alt or Option, click on the stopwatch, and I do loop out, double click to complete it. Now I put my parentheses, ping, there's the autocomplete, double click. Here's my type cursor to let me know I'm still in the expression field. Turns into an arrow. I can click out of it. And my expression stopped working. Function loop out is undefined. That's funny that it's... Let's see what happens if I copy this keyframe and paste it right there. No, it's not continuing the ping pong, but it should work. It's just not working tonight because After Effects is a little buggy. But let's say you don't have time to troubleshoot. So I'm going to hold down Alt or Option to get rid of that expression. And all I have to do is copy both my keyframes, paste them, do it again. Wherever you have your playhead is where they will paste to, like such. So that's what loop out ping pong would have done if After Effects was behaving tonight. Now I'm going to start looking at people's work during lab time. Okay. I don't have the font, but okay, so you threw a preset, a text preset on your type. Nice illustration. So remember, whenever you have Illustrator artwork, you want to be in your switches and click the continuous rasterize for that. So this is a little fun thing. Minus 90, the sword's pointing this way. 90 degrees, sword will point in the other direction. Just something to take into consideration. Just quickly pointing out here, this sword makes a T. You could get rid of that letter T. I know this isn't the font, but let's just see what that looks like. And then maybe have the sword sink down a little bit more. Now remember, any changes you make while you're on a keyframe, I use my previous and next to get there. You will not add another keyframe, so you don't have to worry about that. And I know these aren't the fonts, so I can't really judge the layout. I think you should put a little more thought into these letters than using an animation preset. But at least you're showing that you understand that. You've got your basic motion going on there. You've got some work. It's pretty good. I like the balance here. Layout's pretty nice. The artwork is gorgeous. And it's like maybe the word caliber, instead of fading in, we could have it appear from behind the sword. To show you how to do that, we'll get rid of these keyframes. Let's see where we want it to come in. So there goes the sword. Your text, first text resolves itself. Yeah. So I'm just showing you a little bit of stuff because we got some time in lab. Now, I'm going to go forward a little bit. Let's say 1 second, a little bit less than a second. Add a keyframe. I'm going to work backwards now. So I'm going to want, it's going to end up here. We already got that keyframe. And I'm going to have this go behind the sword. Like such. So now it's completely away from that edge. And I'm going to put it behind the sword. Like such. Now, there's two ways you can make this text look like it's appearing from behind that sword. There's using a mask or using a mat. They're both going to do the same thing. I'll show you a mat first. And the mask will involve pre-composing, which we're covering next week. Okay, so... wait, so that word has to move back a little bit more. And I don't need it until here. So I'm going to trim that layer by holding down Alt and the bracket next to the letter P to trim the beginning of that. Or you could just grab the beginning of the playhead with this double arrow that appears, hold down Shift and snap it to where the playhead is. Either way will work. Okay, so text isn't going to appear to here, which is where we want it. And let me show you, with nothing selected, go get a rectangle, and I'm going to make it the size of the text. So it's a little bit taller than it needs to be. I don't need a stroke. I'm going to give it a fill, keep it red just so we can see what's happening. And I'm just going to move this over to the edge of the sword hilt. Okay. I'm going to put it directly above the text. Here's the way that this works. When you're using mats, it's one layer revealing one layer. This shape is going to reveal the text below, okay? One layer revealing one layer. And always remember this expression I use. You put a mask over your face. Like if you're putting on a Halloween mask. So the thing that's masking it out goes above. I click on the layer below. These are my switches. I need to be in my modes. Here's my modes. The mats are under track mat. These are blending modes. So this is the layer that's going to get the track mat because it's the one below. I go to the track mat column and choose alpha mat. So what's going to happen is where you see that shape was is where the text will be visible. So this way you don't see it on the other side of the sword. It just magically appears from behind the sword now. That's using an alpha mat. That's the first technique. Like such. Now, I'm going to get rid of that alpha mat. Because lab time's about learning. Now I got to get rid of the alpha mat here. Now you can see the type again. Okay, here's what's going to happen if I do it with a mask. You make a mask when a layer is selected. So I've got my type layer selected. I've got my shape tool. I'm going to draw a mask over here. Now there's a mask over my text. But watch what's going to happen when the text moves. the mask will move with the layer. That is not what I want to happen. So I'm going to hit undo to get rid of that mask. And he goes saying, well, how do I prevent that from happening? All you need to do is pre-compose this layer. And I'll walk you through that because we're covering pre-composing next week. Pre-composing is the number one step when you got something happening in After Effects that you need to troubleshoot. You just select the layer or layers you want, right-click, and choose pre-compose. I only wanted that text, so I only need the text layer. I'll call it Caliber PC, short for pre-comp. And this is important. Click this button, move all attributes into the new comp. What that did was it put your keyframes inside of this comp. Why is that important? Because now, if I draw a mask on the pre-comp with that layer selected, the mask will not move because the keyframes are inside that pre-comp, not on the layer. So now the mask stays still, and it reveals the text the way that you want it to. If we did not pre-comp that layer, the mask would have moved around with the text. But when we pre-comped it and put all attributes into a new composition, your keyframes are inside here. But the mask is not on this layer. The mask is on the composition, the pre-comp we made. That's just two ways of revealing the text in that fashion. Love your artwork. Your layout's very balanced. And let's just pretend your fonts are perfect, okay? If your fonts are the size and the spacing you want, you can show me a version. Like you can keep this layer, right-click, and choose Create Shapes from Text. What that's going to do is it's going to turn that text into a shape layer. Same thing as making paths from a font in Illustrator. So I'll see what your font looks like and see that expression, the preset animation you put on it disappeared because that was applied to the font. But at least this way I'll have a layer that I can look at and say, okay, that's that. I can then hide it, and your font's still here with the preset animation you put on it. So it will still be there, and I'll still have the shape layer to look at so I know what your font looks like. But really nice artwork. Just rethink the way your text is working at the moment. Okay, it's an Illustrator file. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to guess that he was working 1920 by 1080, make my composition, and I'm going to bring in his Illustrator file, import file, go to Shane's folder, and remember, if he's got this broken into layers and stuff like that, I'm going to click once, not twice, go to Import as, Composition Retain Layer Sizes, then click my import. You've got to choose Composition Retain Layer Sizes. And here's this pre-comp right there, Spaceman. I double-click to open it, and there's all my layers. These are my modes. I need to be in switches. And every layer that came in from Illustrator needs to have the gear clicked, so it continuously rasterizes it and keeps it looking crisp and smooth. All right. Nice artwork. Liking that a lot. Yeah, no problem at all. We're going to tackle rigging this character. Here's a fast little shortcut, and this will help you out too, Kelly, so you can just watch up on top. Thank you so much for labeling things left and right. Hand, right, left. That's the way to do it. So I can take all my left side and put it together in my timeline. I'll get all the right side, put it together in my timeline. This will just make it easier to parent it. Okay, so let's check out my layer order. The head goes above the body, the upper arm, and the lower arm. Now here's the tricky thing. I think we might want the lower arm in the layer stack higher than the upper arm. The reason for that is I'm going to click right here to solo that layer, and I'll show you why. You might run into a problem with this not being very rounded. might inhibit your limit, your ability to move this a lot. So I'm going to put this basically where that ends. And I'm going to put the anchor point for here, right about where that would be moving from, right there. Now let's take a look at your lower arm. I'll hit R for rotate. See what happens when it's below the upper arm in the layer stack. So I'm going to put it above the upper arm. So now when I rotate it, it's going above that arm visually. This is why you got to watch your rounded corners, because that's going to happen. So that's just something to watch out for. These should really be more finished. Like, let me deselect. Let's pretend your arm is like a cylinder. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make it 110, just so it's an even number to remember. So I've got that. Now I'm going to make a circle. Now I'm going to make it 110 by 110, because that'll be the same as the width of the other body part. And I'm going to put the anchor point in the center. But I'm going to fix that in a moment. And then, so I'll call this and then I'll duplicate the shoulder socket, Command D, put it at the bottom of the upper arm, and I'll call this wrist joint. So I'm going to select all three of these and go to my align them horizontally. So now they're all lined up. And I'm going to go to my blending modes, which is in my modes, and I'll change them to something weird. Let's just try screen. So now I can see where they line up. So I got to move the wrist down. See? So I'm going to zoom in so everyone can see a little closer. You could do this in Illustrator or After Effects. You know, it's wherever you got your artwork. I want the circle to be as close to that middle point as possible. Like that. That's good. And I'm going to do the same for the other join right down here. So move that down a little bit. Now they're all lined up pretty good. So I'm going to change my blending mode back to normal. That's just a fast way of doing it. So this is what your upper arm should look like, because this full circle will allow you more flexibility. Where you see is when you do it like this, you quickly run out of animation options. So this is a good way to go. Full circle at the beginning and end of your layer. So I'm going to unsolo those layers. And let's see. Where did that one layer go? I must have accidentally deleted that layer, but I did that demonstration on your joins. So I'm just going to delete all this. Delete that. And I'll just re-import the artwork. You'll want to fix the artwork. But first, what we can do... Now I got to clean this up again. Okay, so the hand will be above the lower arm. The lower arm will be above the upper arm. So the way it's going to go for your parenting, you can get your parenting here in your modes as well as your switches. It's in both of them. We're going to parent the hand to the lower arm. We're going to parent the lower arm to the upper arm. And we're going to do the same with the legs. So it should be, I think the foot should be above the lower leg above the upper leg. So we'll do the foot to the lower leg to the upper leg. And that's the right side of the body. The head would be parented to the body. The waist will be parented to the body. And over here you can see what we've layered so far, what we've parented so far. The upper leg should be parented to the waist. Hand to the lower arm to the upper arm. And here's a common mistake. If you double click on a layer, it opens it up here in your composition. Just click the X to close it. Okay, so this upper leg, I'll parent to the waist. Feet, I'll parent to the lower leg. Okay, now my upper arm and my lower arm. Those are going to go up higher. That's my hand. Hand goes to the lower arm. I did it again. Lower arm goes to the upper arm. So that's a quick parenting of the rig. The main driving force now should be the body. Let's test it. You want to keep everything connected. The arms broke from the rig because my upper arm needs to be parented to the body. And my upper left arm needs to be parented to the body. Now let's test the rig. Now, when you move it, the body stays together. If you rotate it, the body will rotate together. Same with scale. Like such. Now the character is no problem at all. Thank you very much, Dino. Now the character is linked. You're going to need to fix all your anchor points. Like your head. You know, once you've got your artwork finalized. But you'll have this for reference. I'm clicking the solo to see it more easily. Right here, the little circle right there. Your anchor point for the head, I'm holding down Command, should be the bottom middle. The anchor point for the body should probably be the bottom middle too, because of how the torso moves on the spine. So just move that up a little bit, because your artwork should be complete there. You're going to run into some issues. You need these full circles. The hand will be where the wrist meets the body. I mean the forearm. So put that right there. That's where your hand anchor point would be. The lower arm, you're going to want those full circles like I showed you. Lower arm would be up at the top where the join is. And actually, let me see. You probably might even want it there at the corner, because that is more where the elbow is, and that will be more realistic. I would try that out. You can always move it if it's not working for you. The upper arm would be where the shoulder meets the body. That's where you put your anchor point. Like such. And you do the same for the left-hand side. So let's test out that upper arm. If I rotate it, the whole arm should move. Yep. And then in addition to that, then you can start doing your other limbs. And you see your rig breaking because of the artwork. But once you fix that, then this will work. Now this is when you've got to start thinking of stuff, because when you have the arm move, it's going behind the back. Is he going to be reaching for stuff behind the back? If not, you'd put the body below the arms. Or maybe keep the shoulder below the body and the upper I mean, the middle arm and the hand, possibly. It's all up to you to figure out how you want that to work, but it's all in your layer stack. If I put that upper arm above the body, you're going to see the full thing as it crosses over the body. Same with the legs. So nice job with your artwork. You know, fix the limbs, and then you'll be able to have a lot of motion in this character. I like the illustration style. That's spectacular. I'm loving this. You got smoke coming out both sides. You added a lot of life to this. This is exceptional. And I mean, clearly it shows you've been listening to everything I've been saying. You've got everything. This is great. Like this is like mid-semester level work, and we're only on week 3. I am incredibly impressed by this. The artwork's great. The contrast is great. The scale of the elements, I'm loving all of it. So this is right here. Oh, wow. You did this without nulls. You parented. Okay. All right. I see what you did there. Smart. Lots of good choices. Yeah. So what I was saying is this is phenomenal. This is like mid-level semester work. I love everything about this. It clearly shows you've not only been listening, but you've taken everything I've taught and you've applied it creatively and given it your own flair. I love the contrast. I love the artwork. I love the animation hierarchy, the little details. The way you got all of this working together with parenting, you're using the 12 principles of animation. This has a lot of life. This is exactly what I was talking about with be careful with inanimate objects. But you added so much characteristic to this with things like squash and stretch that it is just brilliant. I'm loving it. I'm very impressed with this. Stellar job. The little hop and skip, I mean, there's so much great stuff going on. The shadow, all of it. Stellar. This is brilliant. I am beyond impressed. Hats off to you. This is very fun, colorful. This is very polished. This is going to be a very strong portfolio piece when you're done. Yeah, no problem at all. And you want to see something fun? Now that we know a little bit about expressions, if this were its own layer, those red indicators, you could add a glow to those or like light them up with an expression very easily to add a little bit of life. This is stellar. Great job. Very happy with that. Anybody else have anything to show? I mean, this is great. I love all the choices you made. That's beautiful. Lots of subtle motion. Like I said, you just show a lot of thought. All your anchor points are on point. Animation hierarchy, the 12 principles. It's just incredible. Did you animate this chord with the chord path to get that life? Yeah, you did. You didn't even use turbulent displace. Oh, I'm glad you're having fun with it. This is great. I'm loving it. Beautiful. I'm glad you put in the time. Like I said, if you do little by little by little by little each week, by the time the assignment's due, you're going to have something really strong. And you've done a ton of work here. And once you've got your gross motion down, then you can worry about making it more subtle, giving it that nuance. Where can you incorporate the 12 principles of animation? And you've done all that. Like, this is just unbelievable. This is great. Very happy with that. And I could show you a little way of, let's try and find a fun way of going from the transition from here up to there. So let me zoom out a little bit. The string goes up to there. So what you could do to cheat this is Bum, 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 bum. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Come on. I'm doing this without a mouse tonight. I don't have enough USB ports. So if I go to your line, oh, come on. Make it a lot easier on everyone to understand. If I take all your original artwork, oh, wait. I've got to unlock it first. Okay. So I get all your layers, right click and pre-compose it. Move it into a new composition. Now, you'll see what's going to happen here. I'm going to now pre-compose this to here. And what should happen is as I move this down, I might not even need that adjustment layer. Let's try what happens here. Why is that not going? Okay, let's try this. 1 second. Like I said, it's all about troubleshooting. Here's your artwork plus my artwork. I'm going to pre-compose mine. And I'm going to get rid of this adjustment layer. So we've got 2 layers. Oh, wait, where's mine go? Okay, wait. I think I got it. Okay, I think this is it. I'm going to test this out, see if it works. Okay, I see what happened. All right, here's what went wrong. My artwork wasn't on the screen. Move that down to the bottom a little bit. And I'll make this composition a little bit bigger. I'm allowed to do that because I need that extra space. I'll make it even taller. This is the way that you can cheat long camera shots. Like if you had, I made this tall, but if I had like a very long composition, like wide, you can make one big background and bring it into your sequence, which is 1920 by 1080. Okay, so now I'm going to put this right here at the edge. This is still parented. Okay, it's my line that we're not seeing. Oh, because I never gave it. That's why. That's what's messing everything up. Now it should all work. We'll pretend it's the same thickness and size as yours. Okay, so my composition that I added onto this will be your next scene. Your next scene is its own composition, whatever size you need it to be. And my composition's up here, right above yours. My composition is parented to yours. So when yours moves down, mine slides in, and it looks like a camera panning up to the person sitting there. Does that make sense to you, Sarah? How I did that? Here's your normal sequence, and you'd have the next one in its own sequence above it, however big it needs to be. And that is like right above the other one. Yeah, no problem. So this way, since mine is parented to yours, when yours moves down, so I'll even keyframe it. So here comes your stuff. Boom. There's the chord. There's the motion. There's the end of your motion. I'm going to need to make this a little bit longer, so I'll go composition settings, change it to 15 seconds. Now, go zoom out. And these will need to be longer. So I just change that in here to whatever the final length is going to be. You got to do it for both of them. And then I zoom out. Come on. Select all my layers. And I can just drag these out to the edge like that. Or hold down Alt and hit the bracket. Oops. Move the playhead first. Hold down Alt and hit the bracket next to the letter P, the second one. So not the first bracket by P, but the one next to it. So now that's going to be long enough. And mine is going to be long enough, I hope. And I can drag this out now to 15. So if that's where your motion stops, why are we seeing that 2-chord thing? Like, what is going up with that? Oh, I messed up one of your layers because you did something. Okay. I get it. Let's say it's right here. We'll pretend that that lines up. That was me. My bad. So now I can animate this down on the Y and bring into the next scene for your next part of your logo. Like such. So we figured out how to go from that scene into your next scene. That's why it always pays to label your pre-comps and your compositions. And when I'm working, we're going to cover this next week in pre-comps, but normally I would call this like main animation. And so we know this would be like, you could probably call this like tape recorder. And then maybe like, or 01, because it's the first scene, and then what it is. And I could call this 02, person on swing, like such. So we'll be covering this deeper next week with pre-comps. But you've got this to work off of to help you out. That's how you fake a taller shot, like that, to make it look like there's camera moving. Excellent work. This looks stellar. Anybody else have anything to show me? Kelly, you want to show me what you got so far? So I click once. Kind of a Dilbert type of feel. Composition, retain layer sizes, import. Double click. Boom, there we go.
Oh, with the briefcase.
Yeah, well, what I can do is I can click this checkerboard. We're going to cover this next week. So that'll show and hide that. Excellent. And you know your rigging order and the layer stacks. We covered that tonight. I'll put the head on top. Torso, don't worry. Eyes and mouth go above the head. It's all about your layer stack. See? Then I assume there's glasses. Like such. Torso. All right, so right hand, lower, upper. Awesome.
I think the torso should go under there, though, so that the arm shows up on top of it.
Continuously rasterized. Got 2 upper arms for the left.
Oh, do I?
Mm-hmm. Just keep that there for now because I don't know where it's going to go. Foot above the leg. So the upper arm goes to the shoulders or the torso. So the left arm is closer to the camera. That goes above the torso. Oops, I got it backwards. Sorry, my dyslexia. Right arm goes above the torso. There we go. Like such. And then you would just line up your anchor points. Now let's test it. Glasses, eyes, mouth. I'm going to parent to the head. The head, I'm going to parent to the torso. Now you just test it. Oops. Okay, so I missed something. All I do is look down here. The head needs to be at the torso. Okay, good. And then you can see where the nuns are. Briefcase needs to be in, I guess it's the right hand, yeah.
And then, I guess.
Right here, left leg.
To the torso, yeah.
Leg needs to be at the torso. Like such. I wasn't near the mic, but you're going to hear that, and I was still recording. So this will be in the recording for you.
Okay.
It just wasn't streamed.
Okay.
So this all picked up. You'll be good. Yeah, so that's your parenting for the rig, and then you just line up your anchor points to where the joints would be. Okay, cool. And I can help you next week with that little crease with the arm there.
Okay, I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah, that's nothing to sweat about because it's like what you do is let's test this theory out first. You ready? Want to test it before I send you off on your way into the wrong direction. All right, so we're going to test something out. Right hand's the one, right? All right. So let's zoom in a bit. All right. The upper arm should be driving this whole thing. Like such. We didn't change the anchor points yet, but, you know. I'll just worry about the upper arm for now. Let's do that. Let's test it out. There we go. See, now it's working properly, okay? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click here, move forward, rotate back, rotate forward, like that. And then right about here, because of inertia, the lower arm, I'm going to bring that up a little bit, past that arm. Normally we'd fix the anchor point. You know what? Let's just do that now real quick. Say right about there. That. And then the hand. We'll just move that anchor point because I haven't started doing that. So now if I go R for rotate, a little bit before the end of the hand, the end of the middle arm. I go like this. The briefcase will go with it. We'll stay down a little bit. So there's a rough, quick, gross motion test, okay? So here's what we're going to try and do. All right. Lower arm right. Okay, here's where it's going to get good. Right click, create shapes from vector. Okay, this kept the parenting, kept the keyframes. First step worked. It kept it all. Got it? I'm going to call this one fill. I'm going to duplicate it, Command D. I hit enter to change the name. I'll call this one stroke, okay? Gonna hide the top. Boom. Click here. Boom. I need to be on my selection arrow. Now look, I can get rid of the stroke on the fill because it's got to be just the fill. Now I've got my stroke. I'm gonna get rid of the fill. Now it's just a stroke. So now I can add my trim paths to it. The stroke layer. I just went to the add section. Remember, you've got to have your arrow selected for this. So with my trim paths, I don't need to animate them. Let's try the end. All right. Let's try the start. There we go. You can choose how much crease you want in your arm. Look at that. Like such. You could also offset it to line it up more perfectly. Because see how it's going to swing it around like that? So it's all up to you as the designer. Now you've got an elbow. Like such. That's looking slick. Really nice. You know, and while you're here, just to show you something fun, because hopefully I can make motion design fun. All right, this is lined up to the center point, okay? So he comes in, he swings. As he swings, let's say he blinks. Non-uniform scale. Click here. Go forward a few frames. You could use your page up or page down. You just want the Y. So you could do anticipation. Go a few more frames. And then go down for your blink. Not all the way, so it looks like he's got his lids closed. Go back a few frames to your 100, 100. Blink.
I like that.
And check this out. Remember, so you got that. Say you like it. Select what you want. Copy. And wherever you want it to be at the playhead, hit paste. So you only got to get it perfect once.
I like that.
The anticipation is the eyes getting bigger to prepare you for the blink. So you're adding some of that. And what we did tonight was we got the anticipation in the blink, some follow through and overlapping action with the way the arm's moving, and a little bit of anticipation in the arm because the arm winds back before it goes forward. Like such. Some of the 12 principles of animation right there. So you can keep your rig the way it is and do that trim paths with the offset to get the joins the way you want. You just got to have one layer for your fill, one layer for your stroke. And if you have trouble with that, just work on your motion and I can help you because you saw it kept the keyframes, it kept the rigging, kept the parenting, kept the anchor points, keeps everything. So you can keep, trucking on ahead and I'll help you with those creases and joins next week. This is looking sharp. And as your character's walking, you can add weight to it by like doing a little bit of squash and stretch on the down and a little bit of stretch on the up. But you could also have the glasses jostling up and down. If
I
that's
noticed in there too, though. I guess
Yeah.
we'll just separate that when I
Well, check this out. Never say never. Right click, create shapes from vector. So I'm going to call this first one glasses. I'm going to duplicate it, Command D, hit enter. Nose. The nose will be above the glasses. That's no doubt, because you see it breaking it right there. So I twirl down. There's your nose. I hide it. Go back to here. Twirl down. Contents. Here's your nose. We don't need the rest of it. Now I turn this back on. So now we've got the nose separate and the glasses separate. Oops. So what we can do is for the glasses, I would put the keyframe, the anchor point, where they're meeting the ear, okay? So what we could do is not position, but rotation. So let's pretend he took a step here. Add a little keyframe, go a few frames, a little bit of rotation, not too much, just a tiny bit. So I can highlight over there and press my up and down arrows on the keyboard to be really precise. Then I'll go forward a little bit, and we'll go in the other direction, up a little bit for overshoot, go a few frames, set it back to 0. And we could easy ease that too, but let's see what that looks like. See? So you can fake that little bit of jostling now that you got them separated. So you've got your artwork, and I just showed you, if you convert it to shapes, it's just hiding or deleting the unnecessary layers from that, 'cause it's all still there. Great job. This is looking pretty fun. And let's take a look. One more thing, just to inspire you. Where's the head? Here's the head. Right click, create shapes from vector. So we got this little bit of stuff. Let's try right about here. We'll go here, contents. Okay, that's the ear. You can even name that.
That's the inside of the ear.
Yeah. Okay, so check this out. You ready? Add a keyframe. Move forward a little bit. Hold down Shift. So those are deselected. Now I'm just going to go over them so they are selected. I can move them a little bit. Go back. Go forward a little bit. Go forward a little bit here. Get your original shape, copy, paste it to where the playhead is. Now you got a little swish of the hair. So you can do your artwork in Illustrator, and if there's no serious gradients like you have here, I just turn them into shapes, because remember, in After Effects, the shapes, you can animate the paths. So you see how much life we gave them in just these like 5-10 minutes?
Yeah.
You got a lot of flexibility here. All you got to do is set up your anchor points, and I'll help you with the joins. So it's looking great. Fun stuff. All right, any other questions?
No.
Do you want this file for reference? Just so you can take a look at? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Save As, put my initials at the end so you know it's my work file that you're using for reference. And yeah, so when I get home, I can email you this because I can't access, the network to do that. All right, excellent. Great job tonight.